rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. You know, I'm kind of glad. Well, no, I'm not kind of. I'm definitely glad that I grew up in a time where our digital world, and in particular, you know, things like video, wasn't prevalent like everywhere. Because there's stuff that I did. I'll admit to, I'll be honest with you, I'll admit to them. But there's stuff that I did that I'm very glad there isn't any video on. And the reason being, and keep in mind, of course, if I see something on this program, okay, and I turn out to be incorrect, there is a correction mechanism. But to sit here and deny or try and alleviate the pressure from, say, seeing something that you might have done a long time ago and you're trying to explain it or get out of it, yeah, that's just, it doesn't seem to work anymore. It falls flat because the video is right there in front of you. Now, of course, AI changes all of that because there is, AI by itself is very, very creative and dangerous, as you saw with the little babies that the Trump babies that I played not too long ago in another episode. But yeah, the point is that, again, there's things that oftentimes you're afraid to take back. See, this is part of the reason why I don't necessarily like to record my shows, because I'm my worst enemy when it comes to recording things. Because I'll sit there and I'll say, yeah, I'll do a recording and I'll be like, oh man, I could have said that a little bit different, or I could have said it better, or I could have said it faster. It could have, maybe I could, instead of like picking my nose, I could have been, well, anyway, the point that I'm making is that when it comes to things like video and live video, which everybody has a video camera in their pocket. They all do. Everybody does, because it's called your cell phone. Cell phones, which are actually no longer just cell phones anymore. They're everything. And they're always attached to us, which is part of the reason why when you do something incredibly stupid, you really need to think through what you're about ready to do before you get to it, because I guarantee you that somebody somewhere potentially has a camera focused on you when you're out and about, or when you're a person who is in the public space, such as I am, and that kind of stuff. So you always have to assume that you have something in front of you for all of this. Okay. And, anyway, perfect example. Last week, I screwed up on Pet of the Week. And, hey, it was my obligation to make it right. And so that's what I did. But the thing is that when the video is in front of you and you still try and deny it, it's like, yeah. And of course, like I said, AI is going to change all of that, because you can now have AI videos and they'll look so real. They'll look so real that you just even if you know that it's not you and you do deny it, it'll still look so real that you'll have a hard time proving that it wasn't you, which is part of one of the dangers of AI. But tonight I've got a bunch of videos, things that are going on here. And we're going to be looking at quite a few videos here. But this is about a variety of subjects. And it's just amazing to me that these people, they don't even think about what they're doing when they're on video, because and I'll be honest with you, there comes a certain point, especially when you're on video, there comes a certain point where you just sort of forget that the video or the microphone is in front of you. And so those are the times when you get those off mic moments, like Joe Biden calling Peter Doocy what a stupid bastard, or whatever it was that he actually said. And that kind of stuff, because eventually it becomes like natural. You just know that you forget that they're there. So anyway, but the point is that at least if you're caught doing it, just admit, it's like, okay, fine. You caught me. Yeah, I was a dumbass or whatever, whatever it ends up being. All right. Uh-oh. We've lost video. Give me just a moment. Video has frozen. Oh, is that... Has it come back? No, it has not. Give me one moment, please. Video is... Oop, there we go. Now the video's back. That was my fault. I froze for a little bit. I froze. Anyway. All right, let's go ahead and get things kicked off tonight. First thing stepped up to the plate for the Pledge of Allegiance is, and I don't think I've seen her in the chat yet, is Bam. Bam is up. Bam is up now for the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hats. You're wearing one. And, take it off. Remove your hat if you're wearing one, and place your hand over your heart and follow along with Bam as she recites the pledge. Ooh, boy, I'm really off key here. The Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, thank you, Bam, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself performing the pledge in your style, reciting the pledge in your style. And when you do, take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, attach it to an email. And when you do, you send it off to me. Send it to fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's not .net. That's not .com. It's .online. Yeah, buddy. She does. She sounds really young. Which is, I mean, that would serve her quite well, I would imagine. But there you go. Anyway. Okay. So, yeah, she does. I agree. Coco D. Insert name here. Anyway. All right, folks. Let's go ahead and get today's headline sponsor going here. Let's see. I got to figure out which one it is. There it is. All right. Tonight, of course, is... Oh, wait, I forgot. Whew, because I don't have one in front of me, but here we go.
Down to business.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
That's right. It's Whiskey Wednesday. It's like Taco Tuesday, but for badasses. Badasses. Oh, all right. And tonight I am not drinking. I had a headache earlier, and like you all know, I do not mix medicine and alcohol. So tonight I'm not drinking, alcohol and alcoholic beverage. I am drinking some iced tea, though. So there you go. And yes, it is sweet, but probably not to the point like you folks, deal with. But there's your real slurp, buddy. Anyway, my rumblers, of course, are saying it's No Pants Wednesday, and so yeah, they're busy taking off their clothes over there. Um, anyway, all right. Tonight's headline sponsor, of course, is TGRN, the True Grit Roots Network. Our home on the web is tgrn.net. Have you downloaded our apps yet? Have you downloaded our apps? You should give it a try. If you want to, you can head on over to tgrn.net. And, yeah, I disappeared. tgrn.net. As soon as I get it up, there we go. And you can download our apps. You can listen to either Walter Trout Blues Rock Radio, or you can listen to Dallas Moore Outlaw Radio, or you could download them both and listen to whatever catches your fancy whenever you want. So all you need to do is just head on over to tgrn.net and click on, let me show you. There they are. There's the buttons. You can click on either the App Store or the Google Play under each logo, as you can see here. And you will go ahead and it will redirect you to download the proper app. Now, Walter Trout, if you had the older app, Walter Trout's new app is there. The new app links are connected. The old app is going away, so don't forget that. But go ahead and grab them today and take a listen to either one or both. You know, I'm going to tell you, not that this is a competition, but I can tell you Dallas Moore is making a really big splash in terms of the number of listening hours. That's what I'm saying. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Not that I have any preference, because I don't. They're both absolutely, they're both good. I mean, they're both wonderful. I just happen to listen to Dallas Moore a little bit more often. But, yeah, you can go and check that out. Go to tgrn.net. That's True Grit Roots Network. TGRnet is, tgrn.net is our home on the web. You can also listen directly through the web if you want. There they are. There's the two players. You can go ahead and click on one player or the other player, and you can go from there. And check it out. And Buddy is asking, play some Junior Brown. You know what? I'm going to have to make that request because I don't think we have any Junior Brown in our arsenal yet, or I should say our library. But anyway, so yeah, there we go. And obviously I haven't done this one in a while. Let me go back to the right page here. I haven't done this one in a while. Let me go ahead and finish. TGRN.net is a place to go. It's True Grit Roots Network based out of Austin, Texas. There you go. But I haven't done this one in a while, so. Yep, my chat is nuts. They are going crazy over there. They are going crazy. They're talking something about the opening of the Brady Bunch, which for those of you who are, younger than the age of 40, probably don't know what that is. But anyway, the opening of the Brady Bunch with me in the center. Why do I have a feeling that 3 Chevy is going to do an AI, like a Chat GPT or something like that? I mean, he's already done a couple for me, but anyway. Oh, yes, we are off the rails. It is Wednesday, and things are just peachy. All right. So let's get some of this stuff going. The president. Now, I don't know if anybody's noticed this, okay, but the president has held an awful lot of press conferences in the Oval Office. And I think part of it is that he wants to demonstrate, or he wants to show transparency. And especially when he's been meeting with these foreign leaders and stuff. And what he's been doing is he brings them in, he sets them down, puts them in front of the press. The press gets to ask all kinds of questions, much more often than like Joe Biden used to. Well, we all know why now, which I got a little bit more on that here in a little bit. But he brought in the South African president And his name is Cyril Ramaphosa. I think that's how it's pronounced. Anyway, he brought him to the White House because Ramaphosa requested the meeting. So when reporters entered the Oval Office, they saw a television screen that's not usually in that space. So obviously Donald Trump had things brought in, okay? And yeah, so they were like trying to understand. I mean, it's some of this. They were like, yeah, what's that for? And so anyway, he he brings it in, and he has the conversation, of course, with the South African president. Well, as you know, President Trump has been under fire, and the left has gone like completely nuts over the fact that, and I discussed it on this program not too long ago, with regards to the Africans, or the Afrikaners, folks, who came from South Africa, who he granted refugee status from South Africa. And, of course, the left was going nuts because of the fact that the people that were being brought in were of the white skin color. Because, you know, the left is so tolerant of everybody who is not white, but hates white people. And actually, they hate Asians, too, by the way. They hate both. But he went ahead and he brought them in, or brought those people in on refugee status because of the fact that these people are persecuted in South Africa right now, and that they are at risk for both their lives, as well as, their farms and everything else. Okay. Well, the thing is that the way that Donald Trump, he was like, look, it's a genocide. They're going after white people. That's it. Just white people. And, they're killing them off. And so this is why we brought him in. We gave him refugee status and we brought him in. And the left, of course, is like, oh, no, downplayed the whole thing. Oh, no, it's not genocide. They're not dying. And the leftist media is like, well, there's no proof of that. There's no proof that there's a problem. Yeah. Well, that television that I mentioned? Trump brought the receipts. He did. He brought the receipt. Here's the receipts. Take a look.
There's nothing you can do. There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one. We don't care. We can do whatever you want to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy land or not? We are going to occupy land. Yes. South African, occupy land. That's who we are.
Honorable
member,
you
want to do,
speaker,
you can withdraw my membership from this useless parliament.
Honorable. Yes, honorable member.
Must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act. Shoot to kill. Yamasa. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer. Brr, pa. Pa. Brr, pa. Pa. To kill. Yamasa. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer.
The mayor of DA in PE is a white man. So these people, when you want to hit them hard, go after a white man. They feel a terrible pain because you have touched a white man. Not because Mashaba and Soli will not be touched. They will be touched, don't worry. But we are starting with this whiteness. We are cutting the throat of whiteness. It can not.
Shoot to kill. Yamasa. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer. Brr, pa. Pa.
Okay, I'm going to stop this right here because, yeah, it just keeps going on and on and on. But anyway, here's the point. Okay, for those of you who are on the audio portion of the program when you're listening to this later, because I don't transmit live audio only anymore, but for those of you who are on the audio portion of the program, this is one of their, like, leaders over there. He's part of parliament. He's the same. He's enticing all of these people. And believe me, the crowds that are there, they are all black. Okay. And he is basically saying, kill the pig, I think, is what I think that translates to. Kill the farmer. And he's basically calling for these people to go out and go and kill white people. That's what he's doing. And he is a leader in South Africa. And he's sitting there telling we're talking in this video, you can see these are like football stadiums that are filled with these people who are all dressed in red, by the way, at a couple of these things. And they're all dancing around and they're chanting, kill the farmer. And I mean, okay, you want to sit and talk about the whole apartheid idea and everything else and argue some of that. Okay, that's great. But realistically, violence on the part of a political expression is not the way forward. But that's exactly where they're going with this. And so to sit here and talk about how, the white South Africans, they're not being hunted and killed. They're not being so on and so forth. Really, they're not. You just have a large portion of the population who is sitting here talking and chanting, kill the farmer. Yeah, okay, because all the farmers happen to be white for the most part there, or at least, a vast majority of them. And talking about, and again, he's talking about, hey, you need to make the white people pay. Yeah, what do you think this is kind of, the rhetoric hasn't quite gotten here yet, but I can tell you this much, that there are a lot of people that are here in the U.S. who are also starting to sound the same thing. They're starting to sound a little like that. They're like, hey, white oppression, white whatever. Again, folks, I mean, this is ridiculous. To sit here and say that somebody from South Africa is not in danger when you're faced with literally hundreds of thousands of people who are chanting these kinds of things. Yeah. It's just to sit there and try and deny it when you have the video. Now, Donald Trump brought this out and, honestly, he played the entire 4-minute video. I only played you about half of it, about 2 minutes. And the president was in disbelief, according to the Townhall piece that I'm getting this from. They were in disbelief and quite uncomfortable. And so now Trump goes and is now going to ask some questions with regards to what's going on. Let's take a listen to that.
Could be in place should you not be satisfied that South Africa is fixing some of the very bad things in the comments that you tweeted are happening?
Well, there are a lot of bad things happening in many countries, but this in particular has been very, very bad, very bad. And because of we're going to have the whole world watching in another short period of time because you have the G20, and that's a big deal. And it seems like. I want you to look good. I don't want you to look bad.
Very good.
But we have hundreds of people, thousands of people trying to come into our country because they feel they're going to be killed and their land is going to be confiscated. And you do have laws that were passed that gives you the right to confiscate land for no payment. You can take away land for no payment.
I want to clarify that because we have a constitution. Our constitution guarantees and protects the sanctity of tenure of land ownership. And that constitution protects all South Africans with regard to land ownership. However, we do say, because we've got to deal with the past, the government, and as your government also has the right to expropriate land for public use.
And you're doing that.
And we've never really gotten underway with that. And we are going to be doing so.
You're taking people's land away
we have not.
From them.
We have,
and those people, in many cases, are being executed.
Yeah.
They're being executed. And they happen to be white, and most of them happen to be farmers. Mm-hmm. And that's a tough situation. I don't know how you explain that. How do you explain that? They're taking people's land away, and in many cases, those people are being executed. And in many cases, it's not the government that's doing it. It's people that kill them and then take their land, and nothing happens to them. But we have thousands of people that want to come into our country. They're also going to Australia in a smaller number. But we have thousands of people that want to come into our country, and they're white farmers, and they feel that they're going to die in South Africa, and it's a bad thing. Yeah, please.
So I want to clarify something. The South African president brings up a point where you, meaning America, has the ability to take land. And that is true. We do have in our Constitution, we do have a eminent domain clause, which essentially means that for public purposes that land can be taken. However, the thing is that there is compensation that is a part of that. And realistically, what is supposed to happen didn't used to always happen this way, but what was supposed to happen is you would go and get basically fair market value for that property that the government would pay you in order to quote unquote confiscate the land for public use. And that would essentially be the recompense for having your property being taken away for the public good. Now, it doesn't, generally speaking, it doesn't happen that often. Most of the time, at least from my admittedly limited knowledge of the particular subject, is that that having, taking land in particular that's been condemned, which is another tactic that has been used in the past, taking land that's been condemned is another tactic that's used, but also is questionable. Now as like I said, I have the smartest listening audience in all of the internet sphere. Jarhead 13 points out that eminent domain can actually also be challenged in court. So we have a court system that we can, you as the property owner can challenge it in court. Now, whether or not you win is, that's kind of open to obviously the merits of the case. But anyway, so Donald Trump also kind of puts up the the question to the South African president. Well, here, let me just go ahead and
So you denounced that type of language in the video that you saw?
Oh yes, we've always done so. As government, as my own party, we are completely opposed to that. We, in 1955, adopted a document which said South Africa belongs to all who live in it.
But why wouldn't you arrest that man? That man said, kill the white farmers, kill the white farmers. And then he danced, and he's dancing, and it's kill the white farmers. I'm not sure, but I think if somebody got up in Parliament and started saying, kill a certain group of people, he would be arrested very quickly. That man is going all over South Africa. And that's not a small party. That was a stadium that holds 100,000 people, and I hardly saw an empty seat. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of representation. And those crosses, we have dead white people, dead white farmers, mostly. And you take a look at Australia. They're being inundated, and we're being inundated with people that want to get out. And their farm is valueless. It's valueless. And they just want to get out with their life. And This is a very serious situation.
So, just, again, keep in mind, this is a very serious situation, and it needs to be addressed in some way. And ideally, if the country, meaning South Africa, wants to deal with the United States, then the United States can exert economic and political pressure on South Africa to make things change toward it. But the key here, though, is that when you're a Democrat, all of this stuff, they don't see this as necessarily being a bad thing, because to a Democrat, two wrongs make a right. Well, make a correction, because, they hate the word right. But anyway, well, a reporter, now keep in mind, there is, and this is kind of how stupid the mainstream media has gotten. But keep in mind, you're sitting in the Oval Office, you're sitting there with the South African president, you're sitting there with your president. Both of them have clearly put all kinds of stuff, in front, especially our president, our POTUS, has put things in front of them talking about all of this stuff. And what is MSNBC, or not MSNBC, sorry, I misspoke, NBC, an NBC representative do? Well, you ask a question that's off topic. Here we go.
Mr. President, the Pentagon announced that it would be accepting a Qatari jet to be used as Air Force One.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You to get out of here. What does this have to do with the Qatari jet? They're giving the United States Air Force a jet, okay? And it's a great thing. We're talking about a lot of other things. It's NBC trying to get off the subject of what you just saw. You are you're a terrible reporter. Number one, you don't have what it takes to be a reporter. You're not smart enough. But for you to go into a subject about a jet that was given to the United States Air Force, which is a very nice thing. They also gave $5.1 trillion worth of investment in addition to the jet. Go back. You ought to go back to your studio at NBC, because Brian Roberts and the people that run that place, they ought to be investigated. They are so terrible the way you run that network, and you're a disgrace. No more questions from you. Go ahead.
So, yeah, you're sitting there, and I mean, talk about an inappropriate. Now, if he was out in the open, like out in front of the White House, just in front of, hey, all questions, all bets are off. Okay, all bets are off. But you're sitting there with the South African president. The South African president, and they've been talking about things that are going on in South Africa. What relevance does that question have in that particular setting? Well, it's obviously a lack of I don't know, awareness, I guess is the best way to put it, and just plain and clean and clear stupidity to go with that. Anyway. Well, eventually I was going to get to this, but let me go ahead and hit you guys up with a ad. Just because, I gotta make a little something here. Anyway, if you still haven't tried 1775 coffee, now is your chance. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. There's only 1,000 units. I keep saying 1,000 units. I don't know how many are left. I don't even think they know. Well, they probably know, but I mean, I don't know. Anyway, the point is that when you order that starter kit, you're getting a bold dark roast that hits harder than a CNN fact check, which isn't really hard to do. The smooth medium roast and the Vitality Mushroom Coffee are for clean. Well, the Vitality Mushroom Coffee is for clean energy and laser focus, no crash. Okay. All of this stuff, everything that they have, is single origin, small batch, toxin free, and mold free. Plus, and this is where you're really getting the good deal out of this starter kit. First, you get a golden spoon clip. Now, I've already told you guys this, but I think that alone is just cool. Getting a golden spoon to dig out, because freedom, of course, isn't scooped with plastic. Let's just put it that way. A frother. You're getting a frother with it that's strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political opinions. Anyway, you also get a black 1775 tumbler that says, I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch. I think we already know where they're pointed for that, in case anybody doesn't know. Anyway, you get $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for just $99. This is for the ones who have been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler alert, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com / that's the question mark key, / studio, and grab your starter kit before they're gone. That's 1775 coffee. That's 1775 coffee, all together, all one word, .com / studio, and get your starter kit before they are gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. Start your day with coffee that actually backs what you believe. Once again, go to 1775coffee.com / studio and grab your starter kit today. All right. So I want to play for you an old clip of a gentleman, and I use that term loosely, a gentleman known as Joe Scarborough. Now, Joe Scarborough is now sort of having to, well, let's just say, just like all the Democrats, having to sort of eat their words with regards to Joe Biden's cognitive abilities, for as long as they did. But anyway, let's just listen to good old Joe as he, back then, stood up for old Joe Biden.
But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now, he's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, I don't know if people knew this or not, Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years. If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it. And you...
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, I just got to say, Joe Scarborough just said that Joe Biden was the best back then, that Joe Biden was the best he's ever seen him intellectually. He is, sharp, he is cogent, he is whatever other kind of adjectives they threw. Well, let's just recap a little bit. Joe Biden has lied, plagiarized, he claimed in one of his first presidential runs, because remember, Joe Biden actually ran for president 3 times. It wasn't until the 3rd time that he actually won it, and that was this last time. But anyway, during his first presidential runs, the press, which actually did their job back then, called him out for plagiarism, called him out for lying about Joe Biden's credentials, because Joe Biden claimed that he had 3 degrees, he graduated at the top of his class. when in actuality he had 1 degree and he graduated toward the bottom of his class. You know, Joe Biden, and this is why I'm shocked at all these people who are like, oh my gosh, you know, I can't believe that, you know, Joe Biden, he used to be so cogent and so on and so. Give me a break. The man has done nothing but lie his entire career. He's a snake. He doesn't know how to tell the truth. He never did. And so this is part of the reason why I'm sitting here as in looking back in terms of history. I'm sitting there and looking back and going, you know, why those clips, those old clips, didn't pop up during his presidential run in 2020 is just amazing to me and get like widespread coverage. Well, the answer is pretty clear. The mainstream media covered it up. Yeah. So again, I mean, not saying that, you know, just because Joe Biden graduated at the bottom of his class doesn't mean that he isn't intelligent, because let's face it, even Einstein couldn't go to school, couldn't go to structured schools because his mind worked differently than everybody else's. But the fact of the matter is that this is a guy who essentially went to school, you know, claims all kinds of wonderful things that he's done. Half of them aren't even true, if that's the case. Half the time he couldn't even remember the people that he was. He talked about riding on Amtrak and becoming a million miler on Amtrak, except there's only one problem. The person that he was saying claimed that he became a million miler wasn't even alive during the time that he would have been riding the train back and forth. So anyway, the point that I'm making here is that these people are shocked. They're just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Well, Joe Scarborough was on a podcast called Next Up with Mark Halperin. And Halperin kind of sort of called him to the mat with regards to this. Now, you guys just saw that clip. Okay? Just saw that clip of him. So now, and Halperin played that clip of Joe Scarborough in front of Joe Scarborough. Let's take a listen to what happens next.
Okay. So a lot to unpack there.
You know, Mark, you have to explain to everybody, like, that's actually the first time I've seen the clip all the way through. And you were the one, like, you know, 6 months later to alert me to the fact that this had gone viral.
Yeah. Well, as I told you, and people may not realize, you don't pay much attention to social media anymore. You don't pay much attention to criticism. But I told you for several months, I said, Joe, best Biden ever has become the symbol for the right of the media and MSNBC having so much Trump derangement syndrome that you're claiming that a guy who's clearly lost mental acuity is the best Biden ever. Now,
yeah, which is exactly right. He was claiming that a guy who clearly has mental acuity issues is the best Biden ever. So his Trump derangement syndrome, meaning Joe Scarborough's, was definitely in play here. Anyway, let's listen to the rest of this.
I say to people, go watch the State of the Union address. Talk to people who talk to Joe Biden. He had good days and bad days. You were with him on a good day and had conversations with him on a good day. But
on good days. On good days.
Good days. Yeah. Dude,
okay, so now you hear the spin. Now you hear, oh, yeah, you know, we saw him on good days. When you're the president of the United States, when you have a bad day, that means the government, or the potentially the entire United States and possibly even the world may have a bad day. So, yeah. Anyway, let's continue and listen.
But looking back at that, do you say, well, it was misleading to say best Biden ever without caveating it and say, except on the days when he's not the best Biden ever?
Well, but I never saw those days personally.
Well, you did because you saw him address a dead congresswoman, and you saw him in South Carolina.
A dead congresswoman, yeah.
Yeah, well, more than that. I mean, I can show you. I can show you the RNC clip reels. There were plenty of days in public when he was not the best Biden ever, and of course, shortly after,
he stumbled and bumbled around, Mark. I mean, yeah, He certainly did. Donald Trump did. Other politicians did.
I don't recall Donald Trump necessarily stumbling and bumbling around in the same fashion that Joe Biden is. Again, here's the twist. Whenever Joe Biden is under attack, what's the first thing that these TDS people do? Very first thing is, well, but Trump. No, we're talking about Joe Biden here. We're not talking about Trump. We're talking about Joe. We're talking about Joe. Oh, G brought up a good point. I guess that he was on a bad day when they used the Easter Bunny to go after him. Yeah, when he was out on the White House lawn. Anyway. So, yeah, this literally is what the left does. They are now sitting here. They're in total spin mode, trying to cover up the fact that they covered up the fact that Joe Biden was cognizantly gone. So, yeah, U.S. Abby Girl says, I haven't seen Trump fall downstairs or off a bike. No, neither have I. In fact, Biden falls. I think I still have that photo of the crosswalk where Biden fell over. I think I have it still marked as Biden falls somewhere. I have an image of that on Google Earth or whatever. But anyway. So yeah. So there you go. Anyway, let's hear just a little bit more of Joe Scarborough kind of trying to weasel his way out of this.
But it's actually the same case as a lot of times when I've gone in and talked to Donald Trump. We've gone to Donald Trump, and I've heard the media narrative around Donald Trump, and certainly I've been very critical of Donald Trump. And when I leave, I have a better understanding, just like Jeffrey Goldberg did a couple of weeks ago. I have a better understanding of where Donald Trump is mentally, if Donald Trump is losing it, like people have said through the years or not. And so again, am I going to look at a clip that's gone viral and pay more attention to that than 2.5, 3 hours I had with a guy one-on-one going around the world? No, I'm just not going to. Are some of the clips bad? Yeah, they certainly are bad. I can understand why people.
He's trying to dig himself out of the hole. I mean, seriously. Come on. Anyway, I've heard enough of Joe Scarborough. I don't like the whole idea of them, Anyway. They just they're trying to spin this whole thing, not realizing that, the entire country knows that for 4 years, potentially, we had no president in the White House. Now, you want to continue with this idea of the but Trump plan. Well, our good old boy Scott Jennings. Oh, I love him, man. I'm telling you, CNN he's probably the only reason why anybody would really want to watch CNN anymore. But Scott Jennings, on a panel. Here we go. Another but Trump. Here, take a listen.
Actually, are you arguing that Joe Biden was fine during his
I'm not
term?
arguing that he was fine. I'm arguing that
you keep pivoting back to Trump, who's clearly fine. I'm just asking you if you're arguing that something was.
Oh, wait. I want to stop this for just a second. Who is this guy that's like right above me here? I've seen him before. He's like a flaming leftist lunatic that I've seen. And, he's his hair, for those of you who are listening on the audio portion of the program, he's got a goatee. He's got hair like Ellie Mistel. If you've ever seen it, where it's untamed. It's like, whoop. Oh, Cornel West. Okay. Well, that's interesting. But anyway, he's sitting there smiling. I don't know what he's smiling about. This woman's about to get slammed. Hold on. Here we go. Here's Scott Jennings back at it.
Scott, I'm so glad you asked that question, because Joe Biden is no longer the president.
But he was, and that's the story tonight.
Stop. Let me finish what I'm saying, guys. Let me finish something. Donald Trump is the president of the United States. I would dearly love to see a cognitive test from him, because as somebody who's lived in the New York media market for the last 40 years, I can tell you that the Donald Trump that I knew in the 80s is not the Donald Trump that I hear today.
Okay, hold up. I just want to say, I don't think anybody who is 75 or 78 years old is going to be the same as what they were back in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. I mean, seriously, I don't know where this woman is getting. I don't know who, Julie Roginski or whatever, and she's a Democrat strategist too, by the way. I want to talk to somebody. I mean, okay, look, let's be honest. We all get a little less sharp the older that we get. Okay, but anyway, Here comes the slam. But trust me, it's a good one.
To the cover-up is Trump.
My answer is
your answer to every question is Trump.
My answer is
the cover-up is the story tonight.
The president.
That's the story.
Yes, the cover-up is also the president of the United States, who happens to be Donald J. Trump today. Is not. Yeah, you could laugh all you want.
I am definitely laughing.
You know why you're laughing?
We are laughing.
We are laughing. No, we're not laughing. You don't want to answer the question, Scott.
Yeah.
Your president.
What question?
Julie, we're going to leave it there.
I'd love to see his cognitive test. I'd love to see his
sure
physical test.
Dr. Grasso.
Sure he would. Right.
This is exactly what they do. This is exactly what they do. And by they, I mean the leftist lunatic Democrats. They cannot accept the fact. They can't just come out and say, you know what? Yeah, all right, you caught us. We've been freaking covering up for Joe Biden. Joe Biden was cognitively impaired. You caught us. We didn't want to admit it. He was the president. We were trying to, keep up appearances, so on and so forth. Yeah. Sure. Oh my gosh. Yeah, these guys, I mean, look, I'm just going to tell you, and I'll be completely honest with you. If I say something on this show and it becomes controversial in some way, and it comes back later, because I can tell you my history, while my memory may not be exactly the same in terms of how sharp it used to be in my 20s and 30s, but I can tell you, I know when I say something, and 9 times out of 10, I'm going to mean it the way that I say it. Now, there might be, 1 time out of 10, all right, 1% of the time where maybe I said it. I might have said it in anger. I might have said it in haste, not really thinking about it. I get it. It can happen. But realistically, if you know that you're on tape, you know that you've been doing it, just admit the fact that you did what you did, that you covered stuff up. Okay, just admit the fact that, hey, you know what? We were really hoping that all of this stuff was, was definitely a bad thing. And we were kind of hoping that it wasn't as bad as what it appeared to be. Okay, hey, I can accept that. I can accept the fact that, hey, you want to rally around the guy, you're close enough to him and you really, really want him to be whatever. I can get that. Looking back on it, I was wrong. I just admit the fact you were wrong. They can't even do that. They're just sitting there all jumping on the bandwagon. Well, yeah, but Trump. Who cares? The topic of the conversation, just like that reporter in the Oval Office, the topic of conversation is Biden's cognitive ability during the 4 years that he was in office, because that calls into question things like the auto pen, which admittedly did things or had things done that very well could alter the course of this country and affect the course of this country. So, anyway, well, Jake Tapper and his co-writer, which, by the way, Alex Thompson is the person that co-wrote with this, and Alex Thompson is from Axios. So here, I'm going to be honest with you. While I don't like Jake Tapper, I don't think he's, this is sort of like Bill Maher or any other leftist that all of a sudden turned over a new leaf, okay, that basically started saying, hey, there's something wrong here. They're not necessarily our friends. They've decided to align with us with us, meaning conservatives, in certain aspects. But the reality of it is that these guys are starting to actually tell the truth. They're starting to basically say, you know what? Now, they aren't admitting, again, they're not admitting any fault here, but they're starting to admit the fact that, okay, yeah, this is a problem. And so one of the questions that is always asked with regards to this is, well, who was the one pulling the strings? Well, Joe Biden was non compos mentis. And a lot of people are pointing to Jill Biden. I'm not so sure that she was the only one pulling the strings. I think there are some others that are doing it. And Jake and Alex have kind of an answer to that might be important here. So let's take a listen really quick here, because Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson, they went on, let me see. They went on a show. Well, Katie Couric is the person who is, it's Next Question with Katie Couric is where they are. And they have some interesting concepts in terms of what might have been going on there. Let's go ahead and take a listen to what they have to say.
How big a factor was the Hunter stuff?
I think it was considerable. I think Hunter was driving the decision making for the family in a way that he was almost like a chief of staff of the family.
Does that strike you as pretty bizarre?
It's bizarre because I think he is provably, demonstrably unethical, sleazy, and prone to horrible decisions. I mean,
tell me how you really feel.
Well, I mean, I'm just look at the record. I mean, after his brother died, he cheated on his wife with his brother's widow, and then got her addicted to crack. That's just one thing I could say. I mean, I don't have a lot of personal regard for him, and just based on having nothing to do with, I barely have ever met him. I've met him like once or twice, but I knew Bo. Bo was a great, upstanding guy.
I knew him too. Really,
a real loss for the country too, not just for his family, for the country. But Hunter is not that, and the idea of letting him drive the family car, as it were, is just really, really questionable.
Interesting. So they're suggesting, of course, that maybe Hunter had more of a role, a significant role in the family business. Now, you recall Joe Biden saying that Hunter Biden was the smartest man he ever knew. Huh. So if Hunter was the one that was driving, now we understand where Hunter's pardon came from, which was the auto pen. Plot kind of thickens here. Yeah. Now, you heard what Tapper said, was that Hunter functioned similarly to the chief of staff for the Biden family. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, this is, the more that we find out, now keep in mind, of course, this is a tell-all book. They're on a promotional tour. I get it. They're not going to give away everything, regarding everything. But my guess is it was probably a team between Hunter and Jill and potentially some other Obama folks that were holdovers, because as you know, Joe Biden pretty much brought a lot of the Obama staff back. And, yeah. So, I think that there's definitely a reason that we definitely need to figure out what the heck is going on there in terms of all this. All right. So a little bit of a shift. And we're going to shift gears here. You know, there are still people who are out there who, there are still people out there who don't believe what is essentially the most logical and likely origin of COVID. And you know what? These same people are still part of the National Institutes of Health, the NIH. I got the proof. I got the proof right here. So, Director Bhattacharya was at a, and he's the director of the NIH now. He was attempting to speak to the staff with regards to whether or not COVID actually came from a lab. Now, he's standing up and he's giving this presentation, okay? And, well, let's just say, well, here, let me just show you what happened here. Short little clip. So here's the clip of him speaking.
This is important because it's possible. There's a lot of controversy over this. I'm sure there's folks in the room who disagree with me, but it's possible that the pandemic was caused by research conducted by human beings, and it's also possible that the NIH partly sponsored that research. And if that's true, it's nice to have free speech. Welcome, you guys.
Okay, so you heard him. He says it's nice to have free speech. Welcome, you guys. Okay, he's obviously pausing for something that's happening in the audience. Here is what happened in the audience when he made that statement. Now, notice he didn't clearly say definitively that it definitely was the Wuhan lab, but that it was research that was funded by us. But let's just face it, okay? The chances that it was something that happened organically is very, very slim. But these are people, staff, a part of the NIH, and your director is up there essentially telling you that it is entirely possible that it happened from the lab. All the evidence pretty much points that direction. And this is what they did. So you'll hear clapping. There's people who are clapping. There's staff. These are staff that are walking out. They literally got up and walked out in protest over this. And I mean, what? These are people who actually work at the NIH. And they're getting up and walking out in protest over what their director is actually telling them, which is the truth. Okay? Which is the truth. Oh, these people. I'm telling you, these leftists, they are so ingrained in the idea that this stuff is, that the truth is not the truth. Because, the truth, which is objective, not subjective, but objective, can be, in this particular case, when you're dealing with science, it's a repeatable, proven process. Well, there's definite signs within COVID that is a repeatable, proven process that shows, like, for an example, the CGG-CGG combination, which does not, as of this point, does not occur in nature. It could, but they haven't found it. Okay? But they haven't found it. And it's a common lab use DNA combination in gain-of-function research that because it was found in COVID that, oh no, it can't possibly be from a lab. No, it can't. Can't possibly be there. No, not at all. Well, the other thing that's very interesting about Democrats is that when they start using examples and they call people, or they get called on the carpet for it, you'll notice that all of a sudden their their tone somewhat changes. And for a lot of people who are critical of RFK Jr., RFK Jr. very deftly disarmed one of the most moronic Democrats in the Senate, Senator Patty Murray from my state. She just needs to retire. I'm just telling you right now. She is a moron and an ignoramus, and she just needs to retire. Well, she's sitting there at a fiery Senate hearing between her and RFK, and RFK, well, yeah. RFK really was having none of it and called her on the carpet for it. Let's go ahead and take a listen. And I apologize for having to listen to Patty Murray, but it is what it is. So hold on. Here we go.
Mr. Secretary, one of my constituents, her name's Natalie Phelps. She's a mom of two from Bainbridge Island in Washington State. She has been fighting aggressive stage 4 colorectal cancer for nearly 5 years now. Her best hope now is a clinical trial.
Okay, hold up. She missed, I don't know if anybody caught that, but she actually mispronounced colorectal. Just so you know. Anyway, she's got this lady who has now been outed on national TV, has now been outed on this. She has cancer, colorectal cancer, and she's at stage 4. So anyway, let's continue.
She's participating at the NIH Clinical Center. She flew out to NIH a few weeks ago for her first appointment, and her care team there wanted her to come back in 4 weeks to start treatment. But because of the thoughtless mass firing of thousands of critical employees across NIH and HHS that you carried out, Natalie's doctors at that clinical center have told her they have no choice but to delay her treatment by an additional 4 weeks. Now, an extra 4 weeks may not sound like a long time, but I will tell you, for stage 4 cancer patients like Natalie, this could mean the difference between life and death. Secretary Kennedy, how many staff have been cut from the NIH's clinical center? I want a specific number.
Okay, so before you listen to RFK's answer, I want you to understand this, okay? She laid out a very specific scenario, very specific, calling out the person's name, identify them, so on and so forth. And then she gets into her question of how many people have been cut. Now, I got a question, and a dumb question, and maybe I'm just like, maybe I'm the one who's really stupid here. Well, how many people have you cut from the NIH have anything to do with this entire diatribe about this one individual person? I mean, she could have shortened that up very quickly to just say, look, I have constituents who have had their treatments pushed out 4 weeks, reportedly because of your cuts. How many people have been cut? Look at that. I did it in like less than 10 seconds. But no, Democrats, they have to stand up. They have to stand up and proselytize, or whatever you pronounce that word, and stand up there and make everything an appeal to emotion. The fact is she wants to know how many people have been cut. The emotional side, though, is she's got to lay out this very emotional plea. Now, whether or not this individual actually exists or not, I'm assuming that she does. Okay. I'm going to take Patty Murray at her word for that. But in terms of, what this has anything to do with in terms of the number of things that are cut. Okay. But she puts out this big appeal to emotion. And this is what the Democrats do. This is what the leftist morons do all the time. They use this argument to make an emotional plea out of a fact-based, objective situation here. So let's listen to how RFK takes care of this. Like this.
I can't tell you that now, Senator Murray. What I can tell you is that if you contact my office tomorrow, I'll look specifically into that.
Well, that is not acceptable. I want an answer back by that. She deserves it. I do it. She doesn't have much time. She deserves an answer back.
Wouldn't you rather get her into that clinical trial as fast as you can?
Absolutely.
All right, so if you contact my office tomorrow, this is if that happened.
You are here to defend your budget. I'm here to ask you questions about the impact of that.
Well, you asked me about a specific case that I want to help with. I don't think anybody, I don't think that should happen to anybody.
Okay, well, what have you, and I mean you personally, done to assess how those staff cuts are impacting patient care? She is one of many. What have you done to assess that?
I provided the guidelines that said we shouldn't, that no clinical trials should be affected by the cuts. I have,
Mr. Secretary, I just have a short amount of time. They are impacting clinical trials.
You asked me a question. Do you want me to answer it?
I want to tell you, you need to know this. You're here to defend the NIH budget, which
Senator, do you want me to answer your question?
Well, I want
to. You want me to answer your question, Senator?
Tell you that Natalie is sitting there waiting for treatment.
I'm offering to help her, but you don't care.
Mr.
You
Secretary,
don't care about Natalie. I've offered to help Natalie.
I am asking you a question, and it is critical. You are here to defend cutting NIH by half. Do you genuinely believe that that won't result in more stories like Natalie's?
I think the cuts that are now proposed by NIH are going to hurt. I think that President Trump, listen, there's no agency head in the government like myself that wants to see their budget cut. And
I asked you, have you personally assessed what this is doing to patients? And I am telling you one story of one person, it is impacting life or death situation. I think it's.
You want me to answer your question, Senator?
Well, you did.
Oh, I have not. You have not allowed me to answer it.
Well, I will just say that it is my job to be a voice for people like Natalie and countless other patients who are like her. So you've got to fix this. I want to know, and I want a personal update on Natalie's case, and you offered that. Please give that to me in the next 24 hours, and I expect details and transparency about the state of NIH clinical care.
You contact my office, Senator, and I will do everything in my power.
Mr. Secretary.
Okay. So I'm just going to point something out to everybody. And I do this all the freaking time. See this wonderful book? Look at the title of that book. It says The Constitution of the United States. Finally got into focus. The Constitution of the United States of America. See this book? This is the guideline for what the federal government is supposed to be able to get involved in and what it's not supposed to be able to get involved in. I seem to recall this section somewhere. Let's see. Article 1, Section 8. Oh, yes. Article 1, Section 8, right there. Look at that. Let's see if I can get the thing. There it is, Section 8. And it starts off with, the Congress shall have power. And it lists a bunch of items in here. It lists a bunch of those items. Let's see. I'm just going to count the paragraphs or the sentences. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, 20. There's 20 paragraph/sentences. And I got to tell you, I've read all of those paragraphs and sentences. There's not one thing in here. There is not one thing in the Constitution that states that the federal government is supposed to be responsible for the health care of the entire country. Not one. Now, let me read to you this other number, the numbered thing, which, by the way, was adopted like a year after the original one of document was written and approved. But there's this number on here. It's called the number 10 for those of you that can't read Roman numerals. There it is right there underneath my fingers. Yeah, look at that. All right. Amendment 10. Powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Folks, healthcare is not in the Constitution. The Constitution is telling you if it isn't in here, it goes to the states. The states should be handling this, not the federal government. And because it's not in Article 1, Section 8, it belongs to the federal government. We have allowed the federal government, for whatever reason throughout history, we have allowed the federal government to expand well beyond the borders that the federal government is supposed to be within. But Senator Patty Murray and all of these other Democrat senators who want all of these special programs to continue, folks, I feel for her. I do. I feel for her. Considering, that this is a person's life, I feel for her. But the fact of the matter is that, first of all, the federal government isn't supposed to be paying for this stuff anyway. And we have a federal government that is 36 trillion plus deficit, 36 trillion plus deficit. And we need to, make sure that we pay down that debt, because otherwise the government is going to go bankrupt. But the reason why the government's going bankrupt is because of all of the things that it's doing that it's not supposed to. Not supposed to be doing this. If you want this, Patty, why don't you get your state government to go ahead and do this? To offer this kind of stuff up, because that's where the decision resides. That's where the decision resides. But the fact of the matter is, like RFK Jr. calls out, all Patty Murray wants to do is use her as a stick, a cudgel, to try and beat the federal government into submission with this. Okay? So, yeah. Anyway, these people, they don't care about their constituents, because if they did, she would have been trying, she would have been begging. She'd have been like, oh, okay, well, here, I'll have my office contact you. Answer your question, please. And just ignored the entire, the entire thing about it. But no, she got called on the carpet by RFK. RFK is basically saying, hey, give me the more details. Give me all of the details that you can. I will look into it. I will make sure she gets on to a, special therapy or whatever that we have available. And Patty Murray just ignored the entire thing. I mean, she could have easily said, you know what, we're going to take that offline. Can you please answer the question? Do you know how many people have been cut and what things are being affected? But they can't do that, because if they do, that takes away their weapons, which is, again, the whole idea of the emotional plea. The emotional plea in a debate. So, there you go. And Amy points out, but then the states would be asking for money from the feds, but that's the whole point. The state or the federal government wouldn't be giving any money to the states because it's not part of their job. 10th Amendment says so. Well, speaking of Washington State and how bad Democrats are, I saw this. This is really disgusting. Between this and California does this a lot. But here, let me just tell you, this is in the Daily Fetched. There's a new Washington State law that was just signed by our Governor Ferguson, Governor Moron. He's not Governor Idiot anymore because that was Inslee an idiot, but Governor Moron Ferguson. I wish I could come up with some other name. Maybe I will if I think about it, but anyway. A new Washington law allows schools to hide sexual assaults from parents. So Bob Ferguson just signed the Washington State House Bill 1296 into law on Tuesday. And what this law does is it repeals 15 rights that were granted to parents of public school kids. The repealed rights included the right to get notification about academic performance, medical care, school safety issues, and law enforcement matters involving their children. Now, thank God both of my kids are out of school. I'm just saying that right now. But schools now are now allowed, based on this new law, they are now allowed to delay parental notification when incidents involving students occur. Now, in particular, what they're talking about here is a child who is being molested or has been sexually assaulted by an employee, an adult. That's what they're trying to protect. Parents no longer have guaranteed access to their child's medical and mental health records. Well, that's been the case for a while. Anyone over the age of 13 in Washington state can protect or can keep their medical records out of the hands of the parents. Schools are no longer required to immediately notify parents when students receive medical services from school staff or government employees. Yeah. The bill permits schools to delay notifying parents by up to 2 days if their child is the victim of a crime or sexual assault while on school property. Parents that are seeking legal remedies when their rights are under the original initiative are violated face new procedural hurdles. So in other words, they've got to go and they gotta jump through more hoops to get restitution. Yeah. And the OSPI, which is our Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, no great leader himself, has been granted expanding authority to enforce compliance to this, including the power to sanction school districts who don't follow this. Yeah. Well, for those of you who are in the chat asking what the hell's happening with Washington, all I can tell you is this is your answer. Every single Republican legislator opposed the bill. Every single Republican legislator opposed the bill. Okay? The Republicans are trying in this state. They're trying. The problem is we've got too many morons who have been drinking the freaking Kool-Aid and the tainted water of Seattle and other cities. Just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Representative Travis Kolcher called HB 1296 a slap in the face to democracy and criticized Democrats for dismantling a law that they had previously supported. He said during the floor debate, we have seen a stunning amount of sexual misconduct and sexual assaults by educators in our schools just in the last year. Yeah. So, he also offered an amendment, by the way, that required immediately parental notification if a student was sexually abused at school. But even that was voted down. Even that was voted down. So, yeah. Anyway. We're going to have a hard time with this. I'm telling you, these people, these leftist lunatics. Yeah. We're just going to have a hard time. All right, really quickly in our final moments, and yes, unfortunately, no pet of the week this week. Really quickly in our final moments here, I guess it's okay for other countries to tell other countries how to handle things like war and attacks and things like that, because Canada, the UK, and France threaten concrete actions against Israel over the Gaza offensive. Now, keep in mind here, okay, if this was Israel going into Gaza unprovoked in an unprovoked attack, I get it. You would definitely be like, hey, you guys did this wrong. But this is Israel. Israel is defending themselves and has been against this group Hamas that infiltrated the Gaza Strip. Now, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, credit to him, responded by saying that these three countries were offering a huge prize for the genocidal attack on Israel. What the heck do you think from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free means? It is literally a chant, just like what I showed you before from the South Africans. It is literally a chant to get rid of the entire state of Israel and all of the Jewish population that is there, and also including the Arab population that's a part of it. Okay? I mean, this is ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. But they are even talking about this. This is a totally different situation, realistically, morally, ethically, and so on and so forth, than what's happening in South Africa. Yeah. Anyway. I don't know. Anyway. All right. Last little bit before we take off. So Iran, which is in talks reportedly with the United States about their nuclear program, he has now come out, Iran's Khamenei, the Ayatollah, the supreme leader, came out on Tuesday saying that he doesn't believe the nuclear talks with the United States are going well. And he basically said that he doubts the nuclear talks with the U.S. are actually going to succeed. Yeah. One side, now let's be honest here. The Ayatollah runs Iran. Okay. Forget the fact that, forget the fact that they have a president and all that other stuff. Those are just figureheads. We know that the Ayatollah runs everything. So, yeah. Anyway, if one side is already saying, yeah, the talks aren't going to finish, they're not going to finish. Yeah, they're not going to succeed. Yeah, you can bet they're not going to succeed. Because you're already telling us that you're not willing to compromise or do anything with that. All right. 3 Chevy asks really quick, can I pull video from Facebook? Yes, I can, but I need to make sure that I actually can, grab it. It's a difficult process, but I can do it. It's better if you just email me rather than using Facebook. But yes, I can pull video from Facebook if I need to. But anyway. Alrighty, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, hit those thumbs up or thumbs down. I'd prefer the thumbs up, but, hey, everybody has an opinion. And you have a right to voice it. So hit those thumbs up or thumbs downs or likes, buttons, whatever, all the way across all of my platforms, whether it's YouTube, X, Facebook, and, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Oh, no, sorry, programming note. Tomorrow night, no show. The reason why there's no show is I got to take Mrs. Whiskey out on a date. So Mrs. Whiskey and I will be dating tomorrow. So no show. We will see you Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Remember, no show tomorrow. No show tomorrow. the missus and I are going on a date. So we will see you on Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and we'll see you Friday. Friday. Good night, everybody.